Hello and welcome to UJAD Trending News TV. Today we have a significant and urgent topic to discuss: the recent developments involving the Nigerian Labour Congress and the shocking invasion of their headquarters in Abuja by security agents. Let's dive into what happened and why it matters. For those who might not be familiar, the Nigerian Labour Congress, or NLC, is the umbrella organization for trade unions in Nigeria. It plays a crucial role in advocating for workers' rights and influencing policies that affect the labor market. On August 7, 2024, the National Executive Council of the Nigerian Labour Congress convened to address the nation's pressing labor and economic issues. Following this meeting, they released a detailed communique highlighting significant concerns and resolutions aimed at alleviating the current socio-economic crisis in Nigeria. Let's dive into the key points of this important document. The NLC criticized the government's harsh response to the peaceful #End Bad Governance protests, highlighting the violence inflicted by security forces on unarmed civilians. The NLC emphasized that the government must address the people's grievances, rather than resort to suppression. The NLC warned the government about the repercussions of removing fuel subsidies, and following advice from international financial bodies like the World Bank and IMF, without implementing adequate safeguards. They noted the severe economic hardship and poverty resulting from these policies. The NLC condemned the government's misuse of treason charges against protesters, and criticized military leaders for their aggressive stance towards citizens expressing their discontent. The NLC expressed strong disapproval of the human rights violations committed by security forces, emphasizing that the right to protest is fundamental in a democracy. The use of violence and sponsored thugs to undermine protests was deemed unacceptable. The NLC accused the government of interfering with labor rights through the Ministry of Labor, condemning actions that undermine the political participation rights of workers and unions. Resolutions by the NEC. The NLC called for the immediate reversal of policies that have led to the economic crisis, demanding a focus on welfare, job creation, and fair resource distribution. In honor of those who lost their lives in the protests, the NLC plans to set aside a national day of mourning to remember and honor the victims. The NLC demanded an independent investigation into the violence against protesters, calling for justice for victims and the release of those unlawfully detained. The NLC urged the federal government to engage in meaningful dialogue with stakeholders, to address the issues at stake, and prevent further violence. The communique emphasized the need for immediate relief, such as food aid and subsidies on essential goods, to alleviate the suffering of the populace. The NLC demanded that government officials cease meddling in labor affairs and withdraw intrusive actions that threaten workers' rights. The NLC called on all Nigerian workers to remain united and resolute in demanding better governance, emphasizing the strength of solidarity. The NLC's communique is a powerful call to action, urging the government to rethink its approach and prioritize the welfare of its citizens. The organization's stance highlights the urgent need for reform and accountability to ensure justice and equity for all Nigerians. If the NLC's demands are not addressed, the situation could escalate, leading to more protests and potential industrial action. The government's response in the coming days will be crucial in shaping the future of Nigeria's socio-economic landscape. The NLC has clearly outlined its expectations and the path forward. We'll be closely monitoring how the government responds to these demands and what steps are taken to address the concerns raised in this communique. Just a day after this communique, on August 8, 2024, reports emerged of a dramatic and unexpected invasion of the NLC headquarters in Abuja by Nigerian security agents, including the police. This move has shocked many and raised questions about the motives behind such an action. According to reports, the security personnel arrived in large numbers and surrounded the premises, restricting access and movement. The reaction to this invasion has been swift and vocal. Labor leaders have condemned the action, describing it as an intimidation tactic aimed at silencing dissent. Here's what some key figures had to say. "This is a direct attack on the rights of workers and their representatives. We will not be silenced. The government must explain this heavy-handed approach. It's a democratic nation, not a police state. Analysts suggest that this move could escalate tensions between the government and the labor unions, potentially leading to strikes or protests that could disrupt economic activities across the country. As of now, there has been limited official communication from the government regarding the reasons for the security presence at the NLC headquarters. However, unofficial sources suggest that the government might view the NLC's recent activities as a threat to national stability. The government might argue that the NLC's mobilization and rhetoric could incite unrest, especially given the current socio-economic challenges facing the nation. So, what happens next? The coming days will be crucial in determining the direction of this situation. The NLC is expected to convene meetings to decide on their response, which could include calls for nationwide protests. If history is anything to go by, the NLC has a track record of mobilizing large-scale actions that can effectively pressure the government into negotiations. This situation is developing, and we'll be keeping a close eye on any updates. It's a pivotal moment for labor relations in Nigeria, and a test of the government's approach to handling dissent. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more updates on critical issues. Let us know your thoughts on this situation in the comments below. Stay informed, and see you next time on UJAD Trending News TV.